The death certificate for Queen Elizabeth II has been released. Produced by the National Records of Scotland, the document confirms that she died of old age. Joining me now is our correspondent, Dan Johnson. Dan, at 96, I mean, that seems, not going to be coming as a surprise to people, but the document does give a bit more detail. What does it tell us?
It doesn't tell us a huge amount of how the Queen died, what she died of. It simply states old age. It doesn't give any underlying cause, any more detail than that. So perhaps people who are hoping for more of an insight there may be disappointed that there isn't more detail here. It does tell us that the Queen died at 3:10 in the afternoon on September the 8th. Now, if we think back to the sequence of events that day, there was a statement at around 12:30 UK time that day saying that the Queen was unwell, that she was under medical supervision. We know that her son and daughter, then Prince Charles and Princess Anne, were with her at Balmoral Castle at that point. But that was the point where some of the rest of the royal family were trying to travel to Balmoral to be with the Queen. And it looks like, from the confirmation of that time, that people like her other two sons and her grandchildren weren't actually there at the moment that she finally passed away. But the other thing you take from this document, it's a public document. Everyone would register a death in this way, and the Queen's family have had to do exactly the same. So you get details like name, Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor, occupation, Her Majesty the Queen, and it states her date of birth, the details of where and when she died, and just that most basic detail that she died of old age at 96. One interesting detail, apparently if she died in England, she wouldn't have had this sort of form. She was exempted as the monarch from the Registration Act, but that didn't apply in Scotland. So it's the fact that she died at Balmoral Castle in Scotland that means that her daughter, Princess Anne, had to go to the registry office, complete this form, and that's why we have this bit of detail into the last day of the Queen's life.
That's a fascinating facet there of the implication of the fact that Her Majesty died in Scotland. And people will continue to be fascinated, captivated by the royal family and by the Queen's legacy in particular. And we're seeing that in Windsor, where the public can now go and visit her final resting place.
Yes, the headstone that was engraved where she's been laid to rest alongside her parents and her late husband, Prince Philip, that chapel in St George's Chapel, that particular part of the chapel is reopened today as part of Windsor Castle reopening to visitors as it was prior to the Queen's death. So people are able to visit the castle, that particular chapel, and the actual resting place where the Queen now lies, something that visitors will be able to take advantage of if they want to continue paying their respects now that the official and the royal periods of mourning have both now ended.
OK, Dan, thank you very much indeed for that. Dan Johnson there, our correspondent.
On October the 2nd, Brazilians go to the polls in the first round of presidential elections. The leading contender is the former leader, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. He first came to power 20 years ago and was once the most popular politician in the world, but corruption scandals tainted his legacy. Our South America correspondent, Katie Watson, starts her report from Manaus in the middle of the Amazon.
The press pack arrived and found Lula in the middle of the rainforest. The Amazon's risen to the top of the political agenda. A wise move, given that Lula's running against a man who's accused of destroying it.
The planet needs us to pay special attention. We need to look after our forest, our fauna, our water. But most of all, we need to look after our people.
20 years ago, Lula came to power promising to be a new kind of president. One who looked out for the poor in this deeply unequal country. With booming commodity prices, he had money to spend, and he used it to lift millions out of poverty. But that legacy was eroded as his party, and Lula himself, was hit by corruption scandals and a prison sentence. The charges against him may have been dropped, but people are divided. Some still see him as the saviour of Brazil, others merely a corrupt politician. But he didn't respond to that when I asked him how he'd win over his critics. Instead, he wanted to talk about crime in the Amazon.
The murders of Dom Phillips and Bruno Pereira can never be repeated. Brazil needs to be transformed into a civilized country, which is why I am convinced that we need to change Brazil. And changing Brazil means having a government that assumes responsibility for really caring for people.
24-year-old Carol wants change more than anything. She and her 3 little kids have no working sewers, unreliable power, and live in this sea of rubbish. Born here, Carol knows nothing else, although she does know who she's going to vote for.
I'm going to vote for Lula because under him, everything was easier. But I don't know if coming back things will improve.
The sun's set, but the hope hasn't faded. The crowd here is excited to see their candidate.
I am crazy for Lula. Brazil needs him because we are in decay. When he was president before, Brazil was in the same situation. It was devastated. And we think he can do the same thing. Our hope never dies.
There are people of all ages here, those who voted for Lula 20 years ago and those who are voting for him for the very first time this year. It's the same politician. If Lula wins, he'll be the president of a very different Brazil.
Out with Bolsonaro, the crowd chants. 4 years of a far-right president, and people here want change. But the country is divided, and the future of Brazil uncertain. Katie Watson, BBC News, in Manaus.
All right, as we told you, Fortmyers, everybody knows Fortmyers, took a direct hit as Hurricane Ian came ashore. Here is what that looks like in terms of storm surge. It is startling how quickly entire communities can be submerged. Manuel Bojorquez rode out the night in Fortmyers, and he's there for us now. Manny, good morning. How are you?
Nora, good morning. Even without being able to drive around this area because there are downed trees everywhere and likely standing water, we can see that there's devastation here. This is the hotel where we rode out the storm, and this debris here was left by the storm surge. There's pieces of wood over there. There's some lounge chairs, a picnic table, a bridge over here. This was stuff that was over that way, the Gulf of Mexico, 200 yards away. But all of this was underwater just about 24 hours ago. I can tell you from just trying to peer out at the height of the storm that the winds and the storm surge were the highest that I've ever experienced covering any of the hurricanes. And the problem here is it just lingered for so long. It was hours upon hours of just the worst parts of the hurricane. The priority today, of course, will not only be assessing the damage, but trying to rescue anybody who was caught in an area that is now inaccessible or flooded. Nora?
Oh, Manny, I'm glad to see you are okay and thinking about all those residents, including many retirees that live in that Fortmyers area. Thank you so much.
The bottom line is nothing like this should be brought on social media.
They're now making in Mexico, these two cartels, rainbow fentanyl powder, and they're pressing it also into rainbow fentanyl pills.
Make sure your loved ones know that they should not take anything that they are not prescribed, that they should not take a pill from a friend, and that they should not take a pill that they can buy on social media.
Ooh, she's out of material in her binder. Matt Gorman, former National Republican Congressional Committee Communications Director, Jose Aristimuño, former Democratic National Committee Deputy Press Secretary. Matt, this wasn't just embarrassing. This was next level.
No, it was. And let's set aside questions about his age or whether he's lost a step, even though I personally believe it may have contributed to it. What I find even more embarrassing were the White House's excuses on this. Look, say you made a mistake. It was a bad mistake, but say you made a mistake. You meant no offense, but it's the defensive and the dishonesty that make this so much worse. They do it over and over again on inflation and Afghanistan and other issues, and they wonder why they lose credibility with the American people.
Jose, you and I have had a lot of debates. We've done town halls together. You're an eloquent speaker. It does not take a lot to do what Matt suggested. Just apologize and say you made a mistake. Why the histrionics on all the reasons why we in the media must be wrong and it must be something that bring out John Lennon. What is she doing?
Look, I think first and foremost, my heart goes out to the Congresswoman's family.
Amen.
Harris, but we're human. Biden's human. You're human. I'm human. We make mistakes. I think it was an honest mistake. I think it would have been, the White House would have been better served if they just said, you know what, that was a mistake on the president. Let's move on. Next question.
What causes them to change their schedule, though? Because, I mean, I said the woman had a hard job. She does. So KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, said, the team has no changes in mind for the president's schedule. At 7 o'clock Eastern last night, let me tell you what was going on. Well, we all know. Hurricane Ian was whipping 155-mile-an-hour winds on southwest Florida. Biden went to the Democratic Governors Association in D.C., a Democratic fundraiser. Jose, would you try to change the president's schedule at that time?
Well, I mean, he's able to do two things at the same time. Right?
So what was he doing while he was there? He was raising money for the Democrats.
He's been in close contact with Ron DeSantis every single day. He called him the day Hurricane Ian made landfall in Florida. So he's been on top of this since day one. But him taking an hour out of his schedule to go to a fundraising does not make him incapable of leading this situation.
All right. So you had a visual optic and from last night, and you had that, verbal one earlier in the day. Matt, quick last thoughts on what Jose just said about, well, he's been on top of this thing the whole time.
Yeah, let's take a step back really quick. If this were Donald Trump or a Republican president going to a fundraiser or not calling a Democratic governor of Florida, the media and Democrats would be howling. It's really hypocrisy that they didn't do it.
Yeah, it took some time for that phone call to happen. But people can do two things at once. I don't know, bad timing? All right. Jose, Matt, good to see you. Outnumbered after the break.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.